signings today. A lot going on. Here's the Insider Roundtable. Darren Dreger and Chris Johnston joining us now here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Look at these guys. Look at this crowd. I love it. How we feeling this afternoon, boys?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm actually parked at I'm parked at a Cabela's.
I was going to say all's well here down at Scotiabank Arena.
Okay. And Dregs, you're in Winnipeg. Is that where you are right now? Where are you?
Yeah. I'm in Winnipeg specifically. I'm in a parking lot at Cabela's. I got the work done early. Did a bunch of sit-down interviews with all the stars of the Winnipeg Jets. Obviously, had to chew on the Kyle Connor signing, and then after that, Jack Eichel. But just a bit of downtime here, and then get ready for their home opener tomorrow.
Okay, beautiful. Well, in terms of those signings, I guess we'll begin with you, Dregs. This is a theme happening throughout the league where if you're a star player, you stay in your respective market. Player wants to stay, GM and owner wants to keep you. And outside of Mitch Marner, everyone else has been kumbaya so far. Is this just the new NHL? And for how long is this going to happen before a superstar decides I'm actually going to test free agency?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And there's some good players that are obviously entering the final year of their contract that will be decent unrestricted free agents. But to your point, Brian, not to the level of Jack Eichel or obviously Connor McDavid. Kyle Connor, Kaprizov in Minnesota. But these are all cornerstones of their franchise, right? No different than Kaprizov in Minnesota. The Winnipeg Jets couldn't really look into the crystal ball and see a productive future without Kyle Connor. And Kyle Connor embraces what Winnipeg is all about. He's one of those guys like Connor Hellebuck, likes the outdoorsy sort of life. He's got a young family. So it makes sense for him to likely tie his wagon for the rest of his career to the Winnipeg Jets. And I would apply that same logic to Jack Eichel. Now, Jack Eichel's getting more money, $108 million, a heavy front-loaded contract, right? But he sees the Vegas Golden Knights as near perfect fit for him. The Vegas Golden Knights see Jack Eichel as a perfect fit for them. So why mess with it, right? Just get it done and live your professional life the way you want to. And know that you're a contending team and you have a chance almost annually to win a Stanley Cup.
Dregs, did any of these guys have a mandate where it was like, this better get done before the season, or they pulled a Phil Kessel and they didn't want to talk throughout the season? And it seems like prior to drop of the puck, they had to get these done. Was that a mandate for any of them?
I didn't get that sense. I didn't. Look, I mean, specific to Kyle Connor here in Winnipeg, they were talking on almost a daily basis. Kevin Shovelday off the agent there, Rich Evans. And as I said, Kyle Connor made it clear he wanted to get a deal done in Winnipeg. However, the business side of things dictated that for the first time, the Winnipeg Jets had to pony up a signing bonus, $41 million. It's not chump change. So there was an appetite to get it done. Nobody wanted it to be a distraction. And in a small market like Winnipeg, I can tell you guys, this is like going into game one of a playoff series. Like, the city isn't electric, but there's a buzz because of this contract extension. So I think McDavid didn't want the distraction, and Jack Eichel's probably the same. They just wanted to get it done. But I don't think there was an actual mandate on it.
With Darren Dreger and Chris Johnston. And CJ, you said you're down there at Scotiabank, and we were talking about this, the Leaf lineup prior to you guys coming on, and we had Craig Berube on yesterday, and he was pumping the tires of Easton Cowan like he has for 3 weeks, and saying he's ready, and we want him up here, and maybe he will be available, kind of tipping his hand a little bit. And then Cowan gets called up tonight, and he's with the team, but he's not in the lineup, which would be Berube's decision. So how do we juggle this? Why does Berube love Easton Cowan, think he's ready for the NHL, but he's not playing tonight?
Well, I think two things can be true at once. The Leafs feel that Cowan performed more than well enough in training camp that he earned a spot on the team. And that's, that was reflected in the way Berube has spoken about him really since the early days of camp, right through to here, the start of the season. But the flip side of that, I think at the same time is, they don't want to put too much on his plate. And I think that they're kind of going through, those two things. And really it's kind of a weird last few days, I have to feel for Easton Cowan because he had such a good camp. It was all positive. And then because of the way the camp works, the Leafs sent him down as part of the gymnastics they were doing, just for a day. But, it means he couldn't practice yesterday with the team and then rejoins them now. He's a scratch in game 1. I mean, I would think he's a good bet to play in game 2 for them this weekend in Detroit. No guarantees. If they win 6 or 7-1 tonight and everyone has a good game, it might be tough to take, someone else out of the lineup at that point. But, generally speaking, they obviously want to get him back into action here with the team, I think, pretty quickly. And if not, he'll go back to the AHL. But the Leafs are in a tough spot with this player because I do think that they're kind of wrestling with what's the best for his development. But also the league has changed the rules this year. And if any player gets sent to the AHL, they have to play a game now. So it's not like you can send a guy up, down one day, up the next day, and all of the stuff that we used to see in the past. And so when it comes to Easton Cowan specifically, I think where you're worried about, or you're very cognizant of his development, they're going to really have to plan when he goes down, when he comes back up. And so, I get the sense that they don't have the exact plan in stone just yet. And, they just want to ease his transition. But, it's got to be a weird feeling for him, like I say, because everything was so positive, and then these last few days, and all of a sudden it just feels like he's on the outside looking in without a real clear explanation.
It's so weird, CJ, because he was tied to his line mates, Lorentz and Lawton, and it was like everything was positive. And then when that went down, all of a sudden he couldn't play in the NHL, which is a weird vibe for such a talented player. And if the Leafs do have success tonight and they don't change their lineup, you would think that's not good for Cowan. He's probably got to go down, because the one thing for his development is he's got to play.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think that that's not a bad big picture. If he spends the first month in the AHL, I don't think that's the end of the world by any means.
I don't either, man.
The best thing for Easton Cowan is he knew this year, right? There's none of this junior stuff anymore. Like, he knew he was becoming a pro hockey player. With the way the Leafs have it set up here, he knows he's going to live in Toronto, and it's just a question of, is he with the Marlies or the Maple Leafs at any given time? And he's critically important to this organization. I mean, when you're in the spot the Leafs are, you just traded away so many picks over the years. By virtue of that, you're not going to have a lot of prospects, and he's obviously at the top of their prospect list. He's moving into a player now. He's not just an idea of a future thing, but getting him up and running, I think is they're gonna do what they believe is best and be very thoughtful of this specific player. It's not just about the team. So I'm willing to give them kind of a little bit of time here to see what that looks like, but I can't imagine you're going to see him scratch too often in the NHL. I think if that's the case, they'll just be playing games down at with the Marlies.
With Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey Insider, Leafs Habs tonight on TSN Radio. So from Montreal's standpoint, Dregs, they had a phenomenal stretch run down.